Hi and welcome everyone. I'm Deepanshu Tanwar and today we're going to look at a short monsoon diary. Now, students find this chapter quite challenging, a little difficult, especially when it comes to learning, for the exam, because some of the diary entries, that you find in this chapter, they're quite disjointed. You understand? So you're unable to connect, at certain places, but we'll be talking about all that a little later. Let us plunge right in and talk about the title first. So monsoon, of course, is the season of rainfall. Of course, you guys know. And what exactly do we mean by diary? Okay, so the first question that appears in your school exam is how would you define a diary or a journal? So, diary is also known as a journal. And why do you think the author Ruskin Bond maintains a diary? Okay, so of course, you guys are aware that a diary is a record of personal experiences, our innermost feelings, our innermost thoughts, whatever. So you are scrolling down whatever you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing in your diary. So it's a record of our experiences, first thing. Second thing, when you're recording your experiencing, you are getting a chance, you're getting an opportunity to express yourself. So, keeping a diary is actually a process of self expression. You understand? It is a process of self expression. You're expressing yourself, you're expressing your feelings, you're unleashing your feelings. And nothing is more healing than spilling your feelings to a friend. So, of course, a diary also acts as a trustworthy friend or a true blue companion. True blue means trustworthy, genuine, very real friend, companion. Sathi, companion to समझते हो, Sathi, friend. Now, when you're writing and expressing yourself, not only are you talking about your feelings, but you're also able to understand your feelings pretty well. That means when you're writing down your experiencing, you get an opportunity to understand your own emotions. You're working through your own feelings. You understand? So you are exploring your emotional landscape. When you are writing a diary, and not when you're writing your experiences, you are actually capturing all the precious and whatever moments from your life. That means you're building memories on paper. You're building a plethora of memories on paper. So when you're writing or capturing an experience, on a piece of paper, in your diary, you are actually recording it for the rest of your life. You understand? You're recording a lot of memories on paper. So let us look at the proper answer that I've written here. So if you get this question, you can say a diary is a record of personal experiences, thoughts and emotions of a person written day after day over a long period of time. Got it? Now there are a couple of reasons. Second part of the question is why do you think Ruskin Bond maintains a diary? So now you can say there are a couple of reasons why Ruskin Bond maintains a diary. First is keeping a diary is not only a process of self expression, but it also allows a person to explore his emotional landscape. That means it allows a person to understand his own emotions in a better way. And third, when you're writing a diary, you are capturing, you're building up a profusion of memories. You're recording all your events. Okay, you're recording all your experiences. That means you are recording your memories. Profusion of memories means a lot of memories, a plethora of memories. Got it? So let's plunge right into the text. The first question that so I'll not be reading since it's a video. I don't want to spend time reading the passage or the paragraphs. I would ask you people to stop the video, read it yourself, and I'll be discussing the important points that we need to cover. Okay, and one more thing that I forgot to tell you: which place is the author describing? The place is Missouri. Fine, the place that the author is describing is Missouri. So just keep this in mind. Now, in this diary entry, he talks about two things. One, he describes the monsoon mist. जो धुंध पड़ती है ना, धुंध पड़ जाती है. Fine, जब बारिश होती है तो there's humidity in air and there's धुंध समझते हो, fog पड़ता है. Got it? So the author is describing one, the mist, and the author is describing second thing in this particular passage is a small boy named Biju who's running on the hills. Now the first question that you get in your school exam, this is even your NCRT question: what are the two ways in which the hills appear to change when the mist comes up during monsoon? जब धुंध पड़ती है तो how do the hills change? Okay, what is the change that comes in on the hills? So one is during monsoon there is a hazy blanket of fog. What do you mean by hazy blanket? Hazy means blur blur लगता है ना, fog जब होता है, so there is everything becomes blur and muzzy. You can't see through the fog. You understand? So there is a hazy blur kind of, a cover of fog and mist that envelops the hills and nothing is clearly visible from a distance. So the first change that comes on the hills is nothing is clearly visible because of the thick cover of fog and mist. Second change that comes is, please read it, all the birds fall silent with the arrival of mist. Suddenly all the birds become silent and they're not flying across the sky, are they? Not many birds are seen flying across the sky. Why? Because of course there's a lot of fog and there's a lot of mist. Can they see through the fog? They can't see through the fog. You understand? So they are not flying like they usually do. Got it? So all the birds fall silent and there are no sweet bird songs which are audible anymore. So there is total silence and stillness. जैसे ही धुंध पड़ती है, hills पे nothing is visible and there is total silence and stillness everywhere. Got it? So the first question is this. Now the second question that comes is, what do you mean by the word melancholy? Now the author says that क्योंकि सब कुछ शांत हो गया, everything becomes suddenly silent when the mist comes. When do you become suddenly silent? When you're sad. Getting it? So because with the arrival of mist, everything becomes, still, everything becomes silent. Okay? So the author feels that the mist is melancholic. Melancholic means sad. You understand? So read it. Melancholic means sad or gloomy. Gloomy also means sad. When fog or mist appears on the hill, birds suddenly stop singing or twittering. Twittering sound करती है ना, bird निकालती हैं. Fine, twittering. So they stop singing. There is silence everywhere, and according to the author, it seems as if nature is in a sad or gloomy mood. With the arrival of mist, everything becomes silent, everything becomes sad, according to the imagination of the author. Therefore, the author considers mist to be melancholic. First question is clear. What is a diary? Why does Ruskin Bond maintain a diary? Second question that comes is, what are the two ways in which the hills appear to change when the mist comes up during monsoon? Second is, define the word melancholy. What do you mean by it? Melancholy means sad or gloomy. And why does the author call the mist melancholic? Because mist के आने से everything becomes sad, everything becomes silent, everything becomes quiet. Okay? And therefore, the author feels that the mist is sad, nature is sad. Second is, the author is describing in this section, if you read it, the author is describing a small boy, a young boy named Biju. So who was Biju and why was the author not able to see Biju? Fine. So author is describing that there was a boy on the hills and on the hillside, and he was not able to see, him there. Why? Why was he not able to see? Of course, there is fog, there is mist. Fine. Now, one thing that you need to understand, which place is it? Which place is the author describing? It is Mussoorie. What is the hill station that the author is describing? Mussoorie. Just keep this in mind. So who was Biju? Biju was a young boy who was running about on the hillside in Mussoorie. Although the author was able to hear him calling to his sister, but he couldn't see him because there was a whole lot of fog, a whole lot of mist on the hillside. So the author was not able to see Biju over there. So the first entry was June 24. The second entry, diary entry, is June 25. Fine. So you can pause the video and read on your own. I will discuss the important points. One is in this section, okay, the author says one very important line: the plants seem to know it. One question that comes from the chapter, again, revise. One is, what is a diary? Why does Ruskin Bond maintain a diary? Second is, how does the mist change the hills? Third is, why is the mist sad? Fourth is, who was Biju? Why was the author not able to see Biju on the hillside? Because of fog, of course. Now the next question that comes is, जब भी monsoon आता है, monsoon is rainy season. Whenever the season of monsoon arrives, the plants immediately get to know that the season has arrived. Why? So read it. The plants seem to know it too. What do you mean by this? Read it. The author feels that plants को पता चल जाता है कि monsoon आ गया है. Why? Because there is adequate water. So as it rains during monsoon, it becomes a little warm and humid. The plants are able to enjoy adequate nourishment and begin to grow. According to the author, the plants seem to know that they have to start growing when the monsoon rain arrives. This is just according to the imagination of the author. Now the next question that comes is, one very important plant, that is cobra lily. Fine, one very important plant, you can also see it here, cobra lily. The author talks about it, and what does the author say? That whenever the first monsoon rainfall happens, the first cobra lily, okay, or the cobra lilies, okay, could be seen growing. So when do these plants grow? When it rains during monsoon. So read it. The first cobra lily rears its head. मतलब अपना अपना ऐसे मुंह निकाल रहा है ये. Fine. So it is starting to grow. So read it. Here the author is talking about the first cobra lily growing in the ferns and bushes. Fine. Ferns are just like small plants, green plants, bushes type. So the author is talking about the first cobra lily growing in the ferns and bushes. According to him, cobra lilies grow only when the monsoon rain arrives and they are able to receive ample nourishment. They are able to receive adequate nourishment. Nourishment to samajhte ho, nutrients and all that. Fine. So first question that comes from this section is, how do plants, one is plants already seem to know, okay, when they have to start growing. Okay, and what is it? The plants start growing only during monsoon. जैसे ही बारिश का पानी मिलता है, उनको मॉइस्चर मिलता है, दे गेट नरिशमेंट एंड दे स्टार्ट ग्रोइंग. एंड ऑथर फील्स, इनको प्लांट्स को पता चल जाता है कि मॉनसून सीजन आ गया है. वन थिंग. सेकेंड इज, when does the plant cobra lily, when do cobra lilies grow or bloom? Cobra lilies bloom only when the monsoon season starts. You understand? Cobra lilies bloom only when the monsoon season starts. So the third question that comes here is, when did the author come across the first cobra lily? Now the author came across the first cobra lily on his way to the bank. Now if you check here, pay attention. I walk up to the bank and post office. When he was walking up to the bank and post office, he saw the first cobra lily. Okay. So, and what was the date? Of course, the entry is June 25. So we can say the author came across the first cobra lily on his way to the bank and the post office on June 25. Okay. Now, one interesting question is, one day a schoolboy asked, one day a schoolboy asked the author to describe, he said, please describe, Mussoorie in one single sentence. And what did the author say? It is a paradise. You understand? Paradise समझते हो? Jannat. Okay, स्वर्ग है. Just like Kashmir को भी say, Kashmir is the paradise, in India. So what do we say? What did he say? He said, Mussoorie, को describe करते हुए, he says, a paradise that might have been. What do you mean by this? Please read the answer that I've provided here. When a small boy asked the author to talk about Mussoorie in a single sentence, he describes it as a paradise that might have been. This is because of the majestic natural beauty found over there and the lush green valleys, rolling hills, wonderful flowers and the song of the birds. Fine. So what exactly is saying? Mussoorie is so beautiful. There is lush greenery everywhere. Fine. There are rolling hills. Rolling hills are small hills. choti pahadiyan. Got it? Rolling hills, wonderful and colorful flowers. So there's a splash of colors across the valleys. Got it? And the song of the birds bring a sense of divine serenity. Serenity means peace. So again, the question that comes is, when and why does Ruskin Bond describe Missouri as a paradise that might have been? So when a schoolboy asks the author to talk about Missouri in a single sentence, he says it was a paradise. Why? This is because of the majestic natural beauty. Majestic natural beauty. It's extremely resplendent. You understand? Extremely beautiful place. Fine. It's like Jannat. The author says it's like Jannat. So it's extremely beautiful. It's extremely resplendent. Fine. Stunning and dazzling beauty is there. Fine. Why am I saying that Missouri is beautiful? There are a couple of reasons. One, what are those reasons? One is there is lush green, there are lush green valleys everywhere. There is greenery everywhere. Got it? Second is there are beautiful rolling hills. Okay, there are beautiful rolling hills, Choti Pahadi, and wonderful flowers. So there's a splash of colors, all around. There are beautiful, colorful flowers, and there are also gentle sound of the birds, gentle songs of the birds. Fine, and all of this, brings a sense of, what one might call divine serenity. Divine serenity means a lot of peace, a lot of peace. So therefore, Ruskin Bond calls or describes Missouri as a paradise. One thing. Now let's move ahead. So just to revise, you can rewind the video and of course see. One is the plants seem to know it to know what? The plants seem to know when the rainy season is here. Second thing, the first cobra lily, when does it start growing? It starts growing only when the monsoon rain arrives. Second is, when does the author come across the first cobra lily? When he was going to the bank on June 25. And why does the author call Missouri or describe Missouri as a paradise? So here is the answer: because of the resplendent, mesmerizing, beauty that is found in this place. Breathtaking views, magical beauty, and picture perfect landscape. So let's just move ahead. June 27. So you can pause the video, go through the passage. I'll be discussing the important points. Now, the first important question that comes here is, what does the author mean by the expression seasonal visitors? So he says, जब भी बारिश का season होता है, उस season में some animals also start appearing. And who are these visitors? Who are these animals? So read it. When the monsoon season arrives and it starts raining, a few animals and birds are more frequently seen on the hills. These animals and birds include leopards, leeches. Okay, so this you can see a leech. You must have seen leeches. Leopard you already know. Scarlet minivets. Scarlet minivets are beautiful red colored, orange colored, red colored birds. Fine. And drongos. Drongos are extremely beautiful, songbirds. Fine. In the sense that they have beautiful voice. Got it? So the author calls them seasonal visitors as they are more often seen around this time of the year. Got it? So first question is this. Second question from this particular part is, how does the author describe the afternoon and the evening of June 26? So pay attention, the diary entry is of June 27, but the author says yesterday afternoon. Getting it? That means what is the date? June 26. So the author is talking something about yesterday afternoon and the evening. Getting it? So what does the author say? How does he describe the afternoon and the evening of June 26? So on the afternoon of June 26, a wild leopard went on a rampage. कई बार क्या होता है, leopard, invades the human settlements. Abhi aapne news bhi, you must have heard that there was a leopard who was, attacking people. I don't know what place, I don't remember the place, but yeah. So on the afternoon of June 26, hills पर एक leopard आ गया. Got it? So a wild leopard went on a rampage That means he started attacking everyone, and one day he lifted on the afternoon of June 26th, he lifted a dog from near the servants' quarter. Fine. So he lifted a dog, he took away a dog, and in the evening, the same leopard attacked one of Biju's cows. Okay, but he ran away, he fled. Fled means, so pay attention. The author says it fled. Fled means it ran away. So it tried to attack Biju's cows, one of Biju's cows. Um, but he ran away, he fled from there when Biju's mother came to the rescue of the cows. So Biju ki mother, must have shouted and screamed at the leopard, and wo dar ke mare leopard bhag gaya. And leopards are very, they get easily scared. Got it? So look at the next particular. So the first question is, what are the seasonal visitors that the author talks about? Second is, how does the author describe the afternoon and the evening of June 26? Now the third question that comes is, what does the author say about the creeper? So if you look at this section, the author is talking about a creeper. Creeper to samajhte, you can see the picture. Fine. So what does the author talk about the creeper? He says, when it rains during monsoon, the creeper begins to grow rapidly. A tree creeper that he's talking about, जैसी बारिश होती है, it starts to grow, quickly. Got it? It coils. Can you see it? It coils round the trunk of the oak tree, and he rapidly moves up the tree. Got it? And when the creeper is growing, uske around there are a lot of insects that start appearing. So this leads to the growth of insects over there, and जैसे ही creeper grow कर रहा है, immediately उसके around insects भी आ जाते हैं. Fine. So that means the birds, insectivorous birds are insect eating birds, are able to get enough food in this season. So in the season of monsoon, in this rainy season, the creeper begins to grow rapidly. Okay, and when the creeper grows and moves up the tree, the oak tree, there are a lot of insects that could be seen over there, and due to this there is enough food for the insectivorous birds. All right, I think I've made sense here. Now, from this same section that we have just now read, I've also tried to frame some important MCQs. So these, whatever you are seeing in the video, fine, and whatever you are, whatever I've written here, all of this is authentic and original. Got it? So these are very important. So just keep in mind and pay attention. So the MCQs, first is the male scarlet, minivets, the birds, male scarlet, minivets, they are red in color. Remember this. Male scarlet minivets are red in color. But the female scarlet minivets, you can see the author says, the females are yellow. So the female scarlet minivets are yellow, but the male scarlet minivets are red. Remember this. Now, second is, the next question is, why does the author describe the drongos as aggressive? In this section, if you look at this part, the author, remember he was talking about so many birds. So what were the birds and animals that he talks about? He talks about a leopard. Fine. He also talks about leeches. He talks about scarlet minivets, and he talks about drongos. Now, when he was talking about drongos, he says that the drongos are aggressive. गुस्सैल होती हैं drongos. Why? What is the reason? Is it because they produce piping, screeching? Piping means very high pitched. बड़ी पैनी सी आवाज निकालती हैं क्या वो? Do they fluff their wings and try to attack the author? Do they have a ferocious, डरावनी appearance? Or do they chase away the minivets? Why does the author describe the drongos as aggressive? So read it. The drongos have been described as aggressive because they are chasing away the minivets. You understand? जो minivets होते हैं, the scarlet minivets, in birds को ये भगा देती हैं. Fine. They fight. Okay. So therefore they have been called. So the correct answer is D part. The correct answer for this was yellow. The correct answer for this was A, red. Now the next question is, when are the minivets able to conceal? Conceal means to hide. So when are the minivets able to conceal themselves in the trees? Read it. When the foliage is thick, जब बहुत ज़्यादा घने foliage समझते हो, the thickness, the leaves and पत्ते of the leaf, of the tree. So when are the birds named minivets, are when are they able to hide themselves in the trees? Is it when they are sitting on very leafy thick trees? Second, is it when how do they hide themselves? By walking or moving silently among the leaves? Or third is by remaining absolutely silent, or they cannot conceal themselves whatsoever. So the correct answer is actually D part. Minivets, according to the author, minivets कुछ भी try करें, you understand, minivets कुछ भी try करें, they are never able to conceal themselves or hide themselves in the trees because of their bright color. You understand, बहुत ही ज़्यादा, I told you, males are red, bright red in color, and females are bright yellow in color. Got it? So because of their brightly colored plume means feathers. You understand? Because of their brightly colored feathers, they can't hide themselves. So they cannot conceal themselves whatsoever. They can never hide themselves. And why are they not able to hide themselves? Because they have brightly colored plume. The author says this here. Pay attention. He says, no matter how leafy the trees is, these brightly colored birds cannot conceal themselves. Even अगर ये बिल्कुल साइलेंट भी हो जाए तब भी they cannot hide themselves. Remember this. These are very important MCQs. So let us move over to the next section. So next diary entry is of August 2 and 3. So you can pause the video, go through it. I'm going to move over to the important points. So the first question from this section is, how does the author describe the rainfall on August 2? So how does the author describe the rainfall on August 2? On August 2, there was a gentle downpour. Downpour means shower in Missouri. The author was in his room when it was raining. There was no storm or thunder. The author was able to enjoy the gentle pitter patter of the raindrops. You understand? So the author says, on August 2, it was raining. It was a gentle shower. It was a gentle rainfall. And there was no storm. There was no thunder. बादल नहीं गरज रहे थे. Fine. So there was no storm. There was no thunder. It was a gentle shower. And the author was in his room, in his house, and he was enjoying the gentle, rhythmic pitter patter of the raindrops. If you see, the author says the steady swish. Swish here would mean avaz, the sound of the rainfall. So he was able to, when raindrops fall down, what happens? Pit pat sound aati hai na, got it? So it is called the pitter patter of the raindrops falling on the tin roof. What kind of roof does he have? Tin roof. So one is, how does he describe the rainfall? First, it was a gentle shower. The author was able to enjoy the pitter patter, gentle sound of the raindrops, and he wanted to lie awake. This is just an extra point that I've written. You can just add, according to the question. Fine. So no need to add this, but I've written here. So he wanted to lie awake in his cozy, comfortable bed and enjoy the moment. Fine. But the peaceful sound of the raindrops was making him sleepy. So if you read it, he says, it helps me to lie awake. It means the rain. Rain helps me to lie awake. At the same time, it doesn't keep me from sleeping. What does this line mean? This line means although he wanted to lie awake, okay, वो और देर जगना चाहता था, इस अच्छी आवाज को सुनना चाहता था raindrops की, but the peaceful sound of the raindrops was also making him sleepy. That is the idea. Next question that comes from this particular segment is, how does the author describe the roof? Now, how does the author describe the roof? So, he says the roof was a corrugated tin roof. Corrugated tin roof, you must have seen this kind of a roof. This is actually a corrugated. Corrugated is this, pattern. This pattern where there are parallel ridges and grooves, you see. So this pattern is known as corrugated pattern. Are you getting it? So you can see I've written here. So you can see it. So let us look at it. The author's room had a corrugated tin roof, although tin roofs often leak. Okay, so the author says, ज़्यादातर tin roofs leak, but when it rains, of course during rainy season. But the author did not face any such problem because his roof was not leaking, and he was able to relish, he was able to enjoy the mesmerizing swish of the rainfall, the mesmerizing sound of the rainfall. So two things that you will write if you get this question: one is he had a corrugated tin roof. Second is, quite important, that although tin roofs often leak, but his roof was not leaking and he was able to enjoy the sound of the rainfall. Now, moving ahead, next question that comes is the author savors the feeling of being untouched by and yet in touch with. This should be in. Okay, so do the correction. So, yet in touch with the rain. Comment. So, remember here the author says, if you read the passage, the author says there is a feeling of being untouched. When it was raining, there was a feeling of being untouched yet in touch with the rain. What does he mean by this? He means कि physically he might not be in touch with the rain. Physically I am untouched by the raindrops. क्या उसकी छत लीक कर रही है? Is the tin roof leaking? No. So the raindrops are not able to touch him. So physically he might not be in touch with the rain. Fine. But emotionally he is able to hear the sound of the beautiful tinkle of the raindrops. So he found himself in the lap of nature. So he says, although I'm not in touch with the rainfall physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, I am sitting in the lap of nature and I'm enjoying, this process of this, phenomenon of nature, that is rain. So according to the author, the tin roof of his room was not leaking and he was untouched by the raindrops. However, the gentle tinkle of the raindrops on the roof uplifted his mood. You understand? So although raindrops were physically not touching him, but emotionally he was connected to the rain. Next question. How was the weather? I'm going to go full steam ahead because it's quite a bit, big section. I'm going to go full steam ahead. So how was the weather on August 3 different from that on August 2? So on August 2, remember this? August 2 is this, August 3 is this. August 2 mein there is a lot of rainfall. But if you look at this, August 3 mein rainfall stops. So we are comparing August 2 and August 3. So on August 2, the sky was thickly covered with clouds. So the sky was overcast with clouds and it was raining heavily. Fine, it was tippling down with rain, it was pouring down, it was raining. However, on August 3, the rainfall stopped and the clouds began to break up. Fine, so there was a clear sky. Clouds hatne lage. There were dark clouds, they were rain clouds. So the sky on August 2 was covered with dark rain clouds, moisture laden clouds. But on August 3, the rainfall stopped and the clouds began to break up, and soon there was a clear sky and bright sunlight flooded the town. There was bright sunlight in the sky, so it was a sunny day. Okay, August 2 was a rainy day, August 3 was a sunny day. Next question that comes is, what all sounds could be heard on August 3 when the rain stopped? So after the rain stopped, the author talks about, in this section if you read, the various sounds that were audible. So read it. The author could hear different sounds when the rain stopped on August 3. He could hear the sound of sticks being chopped. Okay, koi woman lakdi kaat rahi hogi, got it? Sticks being chopped. The tinkle of the cow ki bells, uski sound. So one is the sound of sticks being chopped. Second is the tinkle of the cowbells. Next is the sound of the crow, cowing. Cow karta hai na crow, cowing of the crow. The sound of water dripping from a leaking drain pipe. So a pipe was leaking, uski jo water ki sound hai, that sound. And he could also hear the pleasant whistling sound of a small songbird. And what is the songbird that the author mentions? Thrush. Okay, it is thrush. So you can see it, thrush. So one is the sound of what one might call sticks being chopped. Second is the tinkle of cowbell. Third is a crow was cowing. Fourth was water was dripping from a leaking pipe. And also the whistling sound, the beautiful song of the bird named thrush. Please learn this. Okay. So the next section is August 12 and 31. Now we are reaching this part. So one is, please go through this. You have your NCRT with you. You can also read from the screen after pausing. So I'm just scrolling down a little. So let us look at this bigger chunk of the chapter. So when does the first is, I've added one MCQ. When does the lush monsoon growth, okay, reach its peak? So read it. Chalo, we'll discuss this a little later. Let's discuss this one. So for how many days does it rain without stopping? For how many days does it rain without stopping? And what does the author do on these days? So if you read this section, finds कि हमने 8 से 9 दिनों से सन नहीं देखा, बोलती नहीं, your mom must be speaking all these lines कि हमने देखो 8 से 9 दिन से हमने धूप नहीं देखी है, सन नहीं देखा, etc etc. So let us look at it. For how many days does it rain without stopping? The author mentioned that it rained continuously, incessantly around 8 to 9 days in the first half of August. First half of August because it is August 12. Got it? So the author says, that it rained continuously around 8 to 9 days. For around 8 to 9 days in the first half of August, the author remained indoors. So next question is, what does the author do? Does he go out and play in the rain? Tell me. No. The author remained indoors, because when jab barish hoti hai na, at time, barish is of course beautiful. Of course it is beautiful. But jab roz barish ho, to everything becomes wet. Everything becomes soggy. Everything becomes damp. Fine, sab kuch gila gila, kichad and this thing and that thing. So we don't like, at times that, after effect of the rain. So the author remained indoors. Why? Because he decided not to go outside, because everything was wet and soggy. Soggy also means gila, har cheez gili, etc. So he kept pacing. What did he do? He just remained in his room and he kept moving up and down his room. So he's just walking up and down his room, pacing up and down his room, or kabhi kabar, occasionally he's looking out of the window. So this is important. So when he was looking out of the window, he could see the streets of the town. And on the streets, what could he see? Please read it. In the month of August, the streets were damp and soggy because of continuous rainfall and permanent mist, permanent fog. So in the month of August, streets were very damp, they were soggy, fine, and a few people could be seen walking around with umbrellas. So I have covered this particular section, so read it. There were endless. One question is, for how many days does it rain? What does the author do? He just paced up and down, his room, and he just looked out from the window. And what did he see out of the window? That people were walking with umbrellas. Fine. Everything was damp and soggy, wet and soggy. So next question that comes here is, mention the flowers which appear on the hillside around mid-August. So the diary entry, if we see, let's go back to this. The diary entry that we see is August 12. So it is around mid-August. Fine, it is around mid-August. So the diary entry that we see is August 12. So I would refer to it as mid-August. So what are the various flowers that we can see in mid-August? So please see wild balsam, dahlias and begonias. Fine, so you just read them. I have written here, according to the author, these are the flowers which begin to appear on the hillside around around mid-August. Okay, so let us move ahead. So what is the significance of cobra lilies in relation to monsoon? Remember, I talked about cobra lilies earlier. Fine. Now the author talks about cobra lilies once again on August 31. Read it. Cobra lily. So what exactly does the author say? One thing that the author says is, when cobra lilies start growing, start blooming, when the monsoon rains begin in Missouri. One thing. Cobra lilies grow only when monsoon rains arrive. Fine. But when monsoon is about to end, do you know what happens? उसके जो flower है ये cobra lily, इसके flower के seeds become red. They start changing color. They become red. Fine. So one is, cobra lilies start growing when monsoon starts, and the seeds of this flower turn red. You understand? And what does this show? Whenever we see that the seeds of this flower are turning red, we can identify, we this indicates to us that the rains are about to come to an end. बारिश अब बंद होने वाली है. Getting it? That means growth of cobra lilies heralds means announces. So the growth of cobra lilies announces the arrival of monsoon, while the red color of the seeds marks the end of the season. So red color marks the end of the season of the seeds, of course. So growth of, जब कोबरा लिलीज उगने लग जाए मसूरी में, सबको समझ जाता है कि monsoon has come. And जब cobra lilies के seeds start turning red, everyone comes to know that the the season is about to end. That is what it is. Next thing is, when according to the author does it look like a fashion display on the slopes? Now apart from these flowers, fine, he also talks about some other flowers. We'll take a look at them. So here, look at it. When these flowers start growing, they start blooming, it feels as if, because a lot of, what happens in a fashion show mein there are a lot of colorful dresses all around and all of this. So when monsoon season is there are a lot of colorful flowers. So the author feels that there is a fashion display in nature. So read it, I'll explain. So when hundreds of beautiful flowers like ground orchids, so here is the ground orchid, mauve lady's slipper, and white butterfly orchids appear on the slopes, the author enjoys this sudden splash of color. So there are colors all around, so colorful, flowers. So there's a sudden splash of colors, that's what I would call it. And this looks like a fashion show or a fashion display in nature. Have you understood over there? Now look at the next thing. So here the author talks about cobra lilies. Here the author talks about the other flowers. Now here the author is talking about the organisms. What happens to the snakes and rodents when it starts raining. So let us look at it. So where do the snakes, so the question that you get from this section is, where do the snakes and rodents take shelter? So there is no D here. Fine, so there's just a little bit of correction. So take shelter during monsoon, and why? So with the arrival of monsoon rains, the holes of the snakes and rodents समझते हो, जो चूहे होते हैं, ये चुचुंदर होते हैं, all of them, got it? So with the arrival of monsoon rains, the holes of snakes and rodents get filled with water. इनके घर में पानी घुस गया, holes में रहते हैं, fine. So in order to protect themselves from any further assault of the rain, so rain is attacking them almost, correct? Assault means attack, fine. So उनके घरों में already पानी भर गया है, snakes and rodents and rats and mice के घरों में, fine. So will they continue to live in their holes when it is raining? No. To protect themselves from any further assault of the rain, or the vagaries of the weathers. Vagaries of the weathers matlab weather, suddenly changes. And unpredictable. Vagaries of the weathers mean unpredictable behavior of the weather. So to save themselves from the assault or attack of the rain or the vagaries of the weather, they take shelter in roofs and attics and godowns. Now, godowns and roofs, you guys know what is attic? Now, supposing this is, have you seen Doraemon? So in this region, there you must have seen Mr. Bean animated wala. This region that you find here, this is called the attic of the house. Fine, this is called the attic of the house. It is used as a storehouse, almost storeroom. So the next question is, why did the grandmother dissuade the children from, now घरों में कौन आ गए, घरों में बहुत सारे snakes and rodents and चूहे आ गए. So the author says, the author mentions about an old lady, fine, who was a grandmother. So during monsoon, children find a lot of rodents and rats and mice, in their house, and they are very, excited, and they're very amused to see them, all of that. And some of the children also start killing Fine. They also, are trying to kill. Some of the children are trying to kill whom? Chuchundas. Now, chuchundas are called in English shrews. Now, what are shrews? Shrews are, I'll just show you the picture. They look like rats. Can you see this? This is a chuchundar. Got it? But their grandmother. So the children are very excited to see, what kind of, animals they are, and they try to kill chuchundas. Fine. But the grandmother, the old woman, dissuade the children from killing the shrews. She dissuades them. Ki don't kill the, she, even scolds them. Don't kill the chuchundas. Why? Because according to the old woman, chuchundas brought good luck and prosperity. Fine. So कहते नहीं है, you have कि ये भाई शुभ है, बहुत शुभ होते हैं, chuchundas को मत मारो. Got it? So according to the grandmother, chuchundar brought good luck and prosperity, money and success. Got it? And therefore she did not want the children to cause any harm to the shrews or chuchundas. You can see a chuchundar here. Now what happens is, the author received a check in the mail. Fine. After this incident, when he saw the grandmother, dissuading the children from killing the chuchundas, the next day after this, the author received a small check. You can see here, the author received a small check in the mail, and he really felt that there was some degree of truth in whatever the old woman was saying regarding chuchundas. Why? Because they were really lucky for him, because after a long time he was able to get some money. He was able to get a check. You understand? So he got a small check in the mail. So first question is, what did the author get, in the mail? What did he receive in the mail? So he received a small check. Fine. Second is, what did he feel? He felt really happy, and he really started to believe whatever the old woman was saying, because chuchundas had really proved to be lucky for him, because it had brought money to him. Are you getting it? So that is what you need to understand. Now we are about to close the chapter, and we are reaching towards the end of the chapter. So towards the end of the chapter, we find the diary entry is October 3. Fine. January 26, and the last diary entry is March 23. Interestingly, this is quite simple. October 3, he's describing that winter has started. Fine. Of course, October, May, winter has started. And there was, on October 3, on the evening of October 3, there was a hailstorm. Hailstorm समझते हो? ओले गिरते हैं ना, ओले hailstorm. Got it? So this is just the only thing that happens. But after the hailstorm, there was clear sky. Fine. And there was golden light. That means it was a clear sky after that. Now next is January 26. This is quite important. January 26, on January 26, the author writes a poem. Instead of writing the diary in the usual format, he writes the diary in the verse format. And what is the poem that he wrote? The name of the poem, or the title of the poem, is The Winter Rains in the Hills. Got it? So you can devote some time reading the poem and do that. Pause the video and see. I'll be dealing with the important questions. So what does Ruskin Bond mean by the expression liquid silence? Now he's talking about rains in the winter season. Now he says there was a liquid silence. One thing that he says is that there was in his house, fine, there was a lot of silence in his house, because uska friend abhi wahan se gaya tha, and now he's feeling lonely. So he is feeling a sense of loneliness, and he is sitting in a liquid silence. Now what exactly does this mean? Liquid silence, please look at it. Liquid silence refers to the silence and loneliness experienced by Ruskin Bond as he found himself alone in the house. Just like it is difficult to contain a liquid because a liquid spills all over, correct? A liquid is difficult to manage and control and contain, got it? It spreads all over like no tomorrow, got it? So, in the same way, silence was swirling around the writer. Okay, he was not able to control the loneliness that he was feeling. So, you just mentioned liquid silence means silence and that acute sense of loneliness that Ruskin Bond was experiencing. Fine. And the rainfall happening outside and the grey trees was the sight of the rainfall happening outside and the grey dark trees, leafless trees, this sight was adding to his sense of loneliness. His loneliness was mounting up. Next question that comes from this section is, what do you mean by the expression rhythm of rain? In the poem that Ruskin Bond wrote on January 26. So the poem was written on January 26. You can get an MCQ if at all it appears. And the author says something about the rhythm of rain. Now what exactly is the rhythm of rain? The poet talks about the rhythmic pitter patter of the raindrops. I've already discussed this, yes or no? So the rhythm of rain refers to the rhythmic pitter patter of the raindrops. It creates music in nature. So the rain was actually drumming on the roofs and the window panes, and it also washed the leaves and flowers. So the rhythmic sound of the raindrops falling, they were extremely, of course, the sound was extremely beautiful, extremely wonderful, extremely pleasant to hear. But right now, he's feeling lonely. So that's just what it is. Next question that comes is from this particular line. The mist holds the house in a dark caress. Now the point is, when it is raining on January 26, it is winter season now. Winter has already started. So there was rainfall. There was the pitter patter of the raindrops, which was audible. Second thing is, when rainfall is there, there is also mist that accompanies it. Mist and fog. Fine. So mist holds the house in dark caress. Caress means a gentle touch. You understand? A very gentle touch. You understand? So caress means a gentle touch. When it rained in Missouri on January 26, a thick blanket of mist surrounded the writer's house. The writer felt that the mist was gently touching the house. Very straightforward answer. Got it? So you'll just mention that when it was raining, the mist also accompanied, and there was a thick blanket of, thick blanket of mist, and you can't see through the, mist. Of course, therefore it is called dark. And the writer's imagination, felt that the mist was gently touching the house. Got it? Now, this is what it is. So the trees, now pay attention. He talks about the trees which were leafless. They were no longer green, they were grey, they were dark, they were leafless. These trees were increasing his sense of loneliness. Fine. Now, who is the only companion that he has? Pay attention, I talked about it right in the beginning. Diary becomes his true blue companion when he feels lonely. Whenever he feels lonely, I should rather say. Now, the last diary entry that we have in the chapter is March 23. So, March 23, of course, you now know summer is going to start. Fine, so this is end of winter. The blackest cloud I've ever seen squatted over Missouri. Squatted means sat over Missouri, and then it hailed marbles for half an hour. Nothing like a hailstorm to clear the sky. Even as I write, I see a rainbow forming. So you see, there is a little bit of rainfall and hailstorms, ole ole, whatever he talks about. And there's also, there must be sunlight also. There must be sun, bright sun out there. Now winter is going away and summer is approaching. So of course there is sun in the sky. It is also raining a little bit. So this leads to formation of a rainbow on March 23. So no question generally comes from this particular section, but you can just read. Now to end the poem, very important, you have to understand some very important comments that I'm now going to be making on the process of rain. So, of course, what is the author talking about in the chapter? The author talks about the silent miracles of nature. In the chapter, the author talks about the silent miracles of nature. Apart from this, couple of things that we need to understand. How has rain been presented in the chapter? How has rain been presented in the chapter? Remember this, that rain has been presented as the harbinger of life. Has been, let me write it down, presented as the harbinger. Harbinger, if you can see, it is Harbinger, harbinger of life. Got it? And rain has been presented as the harbinger of life. Now, what do you mean by harbinger of life? Harbinger means indicator. Fine. Wherever rainfall happens, plants start to grow. So there's lush greenery everywhere. And what is the reason for this? The process of rain. Got it? So rain has been depicted as a refreshing phenomenon of nature. Keep noting these things down. If you get a long answer type question, you can get some interesting points. The other thing that you can write, what does rain do? Apart from helping in the growth of plants and do it, it also brings, extremely important, it also brings an exhilarating freshness, okay, everywhere, all around us. Now, if you want to talk about the rainfall, you can also talk about the raindrops. Fine. So you can say that the raindrops are glittering. Let me just write it. So the glittering and the sparkling raindrops, what exactly do they do? The glittering and the sparkling raindrops bring along with them what? What do the glittering raindrops bring along with them? Tell me. Of course, they give a fresh lease of life to the plants. They make the plants, grow rapidly. Apart from that, they also bring with them, what one might call the scent of earth. What do you mean by scent of earth? एक सौंधी सौंधी खुशबू आती है अर्थ की जब बारिश होती है, गीली मिट्टी की खुशबू. Got it? The scent means smell of earth. Second is, it also brings the perfume of flowers. What do you mean by perfume of flowers? Perfume of flowers would mean the fragrance, of beautiful flowers. The other point that we can add is it also comes along, the raindrops or the rainfall. The rainfall comes along with a very beautiful splash of colors everywhere because there are colorful flowers growing. Got it? And the most important thing is rain. The process of rain brings the crucial flavor of happiness, okay, to mankind. Got it? So remember this, it brings the crucial flavor of happiness and peace and serenity, okay, to mankind. So the flavor of happiness. So I think I would like to stop here, and I have tried to discuss all the important possible areas and possible questions, and so that, as is quite a ritual, if you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel, please hit the like button and share as much as possible. And you can contact me if you want to contact me and get in touch with me for, I've written everything on the screen. So if at all you want to contact me, please use my email, namaste tqc. So thank you guys, thank you.